Last summer, I cleared out a crabgrass infestation across roughly 3,500 square feet of my front lawn. And I did it without pulling a single weed by hand. Not one. And the lawn came back thicker than it had been in 5 years. Meanwhile, my neighbor spent 3 weekends on his hands and knees, yanking crabgrass clumps out of his turf. And by August, his lawn looked worse than mine did when I started. Here's the thing. Pulling crabgrass by hand is one of the worst things you can do, because a single mature crabgrass plant drops around 150,000 seeds. And every time you rip one out, you're disturbing soil and giving those seeds the perfect conditions to germinate next season. I learned that the hard way after a turf specialist from my local extension office pointed it out to me, and it completely reset how I approach this weed. So today I'm going to walk you through exactly how to erase crabgrass from your lawn without ever bending down to pull one out. It's simpler than you think. And stay with me to the end, because I'll share the single visual cue that tells you exactly when to apply pre-emergent in the spring. Miss that window by even a week, and you start the whole cycle over again. Trust me on this one, it's the thing most homeowners get wrong. Now, before we get into the method, I want to be straight with you. I fought crabgrass the wrong way for years. I pulled it. I sprayed random weed killers that turned my good grass brown right alongside the crabgrass. I bought 3 different pre-emergents one spring because I couldn't decide which one was best. And I ended up applying 2 of them on top of each other and burning a patch in my front yard. If you've been doing any of that, you're not alone. I was right there with you. The whole time I was working harder and getting worse results, and the lawn kept thinning out, which only gave the crabgrass more room to take over. Then I started reading research out of the University of Maryland turf program, and a few things clicked that changed everything. Here's what I learned. Crabgrass is what turf scientists call an opportunistic annual. That means it doesn't actually compete with healthy, thick, tall lawn grass. It can't. It needs bare soil, sunlight hitting the ground, and warm surface temperatures to germinate. If your lawn is thick and tall, crabgrass seeds literally cannot sprout because they can't get the light and heat they need at the soil surface. So here's the paradigm shift. You're not really fighting crabgrass. You're fighting the conditions that let crabgrass exist. Kill the conditions and the crabgrass has nowhere to live. That's the whole game. Once I understood that, everything I'm about to show you made perfect sense. And my results got dramatically better within 1 season. All right, let's walk through it together. The first thing you need to do is make sure you're actually looking at crabgrass, because a lot of homeowners misidentify it and end up spraying the wrong product on the wrong weed. Crabgrass grows in a low, flat, star-shaped pattern that radiates out from a single center point. The blades are wider than your regular lawn grass, usually a lighter green, almost a yellow green in full sun. It tends to show up along driveway edges, sidewalks, and thin spots first, because those areas get the most heat and have the least competition. If you see a clumpy, spreading grass that looks different from the rest of your lawn and it's hugging the ground, that's almost certainly crabgrass. Now let me show you exactly how to kill it. For post-emergent control, meaning you're treating crabgrass that's already up and growing, my recommendation is a product called quinclorac, which you'll find in concentrates like Drive XLR8 or in consumer blends under the Ortho or Bio-Advanced labels. Quinclorac is selective, which means it kills crabgrass without killing your Kentucky bluegrass, fescue, or perennial ryegrass. Mix it according to the label, typically around 1/2 fluid ounce per 1,000 square feet, and apply it with a pump sprayer when daytime temperatures are between 70 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Spray to wet the crabgrass leaves thoroughly, but not dripping. Within 7 to 10 days, you'll see the crabgrass turn purple, then brown, then collapse. Don't water for at least 24 hours after application. The conventional approach here is to hit it with a general weed and feed product and hope for the best. What I've found works better is a targeted spot spray with quinclorac. Because you use less product, you don't feed the lawn when it doesn't need feeding, and you actually kill the crabgrass instead of just stunting it. Now here's where the real transformation starts. This next part is where most people go wrong, and it has nothing to do with chemicals. It's your mowing height. Raise your mower deck to 3.5 inches, and for cool season lawns in zones 3 through 7, keep it there from May through September. For warm season lawns like Bermuda or Zoysia in zones 8 through 10, you'll mow shorter, around 1.5 to 2 inches, but the same principle applies. You want the tallest healthy height your grass type can handle. Here's why this works. Research from the University of Maryland showed that mowing cool season grass at 3.5 inches instead of 2 inches reduced crabgrass germination by over 60%, without any herbicide at all. Those taller blades shade the soil, keep surface temperatures lower, and starve crabgrass seeds of the light they need to sprout. You're turning your own lawn into a living pre-emergent. Before we go any further, I want to pause for just a second. What I'm showing you today is one piece of a much bigger system I've put together called Larry's 30-Day Weed Kill Protocol. It's the exact day-by-day plan I follow every season to handle crabgrass, clover, dandelions, and the other 4 most common lawn weeds. Inside, you'll find pre-emergent timing windows for every climate zone, the post-emergent products I actually use, and the rates I apply them at, and a full seasonal maintenance calendar. It's usually $47, but right now it's $17. Scan the QR code on your screen or tap the link in the description. All right, let's keep going. Now that your mowing height is dialed in, let's talk about watering, because this is another place crabgrass gets its advantage. Shallow, frequent watering, the kind where you run the sprinkler for 15 minutes every evening, keeps the top inch of soil consistently moist and warm. That's paradise for crabgrass seeds. What you want to do instead is water deeply and infrequently. Give your lawn 1 full inch of water once a week, ideally in 2 sessions of 1/2 inch each, in the early morning. Put a tuna can out on the grass when you water. When it's full to 1 inch, you've watered enough. Deep watering drives your good grass roots down 6 to 8 inches into the soil, which makes your lawn more drought resistant, and it lets the soil surface dry out between waterings, which crabgrass hates. You're rewarding your lawn and punishing the weed at the same time. The next piece is fixing the thin spots, because any bare soil you have right now is where next year's crabgrass is going to come from. The best time to overseed cool season lawns is the first 3 weeks of September, when soil temperatures drop into the low 70s and nights cool off. For warm season lawns, you're looking at late spring instead. Use a quality seed that matches what you already have. For cool season areas, I like Jonathan Green Black Beauty Ultra or a Lesco Turf Type Tall Fescue Blend. Apply at 4 to 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet with a broadcast spreader. Rake it in lightly and keep the top 1/2 inch of soil damp for about 14 days until germination. A thick, full lawn is your best long-term defense against crabgrass, hands down. And now we get to the most important step of the whole system, and that's pre-emergent in the spring. This is what prevents crabgrass from ever coming up in the first place, so next year you're not fighting it at all. For most of the country, you'll apply a pre-emergent like protiamine, dithiopyr, or a consumer product like Scott's Halts, somewhere between mid-March and mid-April. The key is soil temperature, not the calendar. You need to put it down before soil temperatures at a 4-inch depth hit 55 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 consecutive days, because that's when crabgrass seeds start to germinate. Apply at the label rate, water it in with a 1/2 inch of irrigation, or let a rain event do it, and do not aerate or disturb the soil for the rest of the spring. Aeration breaks the chemical barrier and opens up germination windows. I learned that one the hard way too. After aerating in May one year and watching crabgrass pop up through a lawn, I had perfectly pre-emergented. Total waste of the application. Now let me walk you through the patterns I see over and over that keep homeowners stuck in the crabgrass cycle. The first pattern is hand pulling. I did this myself for years. Every time you pull a mature crabgrass plant, You disturb soil and release seed. You're literally planting next year's infestation. The better approach is to let the quinclorac kill it in place. Let it collapse and leave the dead plant alone. New grass will grow right through it. The second pattern is cutting too short. Guys with pristine-looking lawns on Instagram are often cutting at 1.5 inches, but those are usually Bermuda or bent grass lawns, maintained like golf greens. For the average cool season homeowner lawn, cutting below 2.5 inches is basically an open invitation for crabgrass. The third pattern is applying pre-emergent too late. By the time you see crabgrass coming up, it's already too late for pre-emergent that year. You're now in post-emergent territory, which is harder and more expensive. And the fourth pattern is using a weed and feed as your whole strategy. Weed and feeds feed your lawn nitrogen at a time when you may not need it, and the herbicide in them is usually too weak to handle an established crabgrass problem. Separate your fertilizer from your weed control, and you'll get better results from both. All right, here's the bonus I promised you at the start. And this is the single thing that has done more for my crabgrass control than any product I've ever bought. Watch the forsythia bushes in your neighborhood. Those bright yellow flowering shrubs that bloom in early spring. When forsythia blooms are at their peak and just starting to drop their petals, that is your signal that soil temperatures are climbing toward 55 degrees, and crabgrass germination is about to start. University extension services across the country have tracked this correlation for decades, and it's remarkably accurate. When I see those forsythia blooms hitting full color, I have my pre-emergent down within 7 days, no exceptions. I don't wait for a date on the calendar, I don't guess, I just watch the forsythia. Since I started using that cue about 4 seasons ago, I have not had a single crabgrass plant come up in the treated areas of my lawn. It's that reliable. If this approach made sense to you and you want the full day-by-day system, I put everything into Larry's 30-day weed kill protocol. You get the exact products I use, the application rates, the timing windows for your zone, identification guides for the 7 most common lawn weeds, and a full year-round maintenance calendar, so you never have to guess what to do next. It's normally $47, and right now it's marked down to $17. Scan the QR code on your screen, or click the link in the description to grab a copy. It's the same plan I use on my own lawn every single year. So that's how you erase crabgrass without ever pulling a weed. Thick grass, tall mowing, deep watering, and pre-emergent time to the forsythia. Drop a comment and let me know what your worst crabgrass spot looks like right now. And if this helped, go ahead and hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.